to the weekly update for AdamsRib TV. So, I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys this week, but as of tonight, I have decided that from now on, instead of trying to do the weekly update on Wednesday, I'm going to start doing it on Fridays. One of the reasons why I decided to start doing it on Friday is my week. Yeah, there we go. So I decided to start doing it on Fridays, and I have been thinking about changing the night for a little while now. And that's mainly because Fridays for me are like um Friday is my day for revelation. And I mean that, like, Friday seems, if you've ever had a day of the week where you feel like God just seems to open up your head and pour in and give you all kinds of words, or give you all type of deep revelation, or just put things on your mind. And Friday just always was that morning, but I never, and I always wanted to post on my blogs and different other stuff as things began to come to me, but never was able to, trying to find the time to write all that down or jot it down or record it or whatever, just never seemed to happen. So I decided from now on, I'm going to just do my updates on Friday nights instead. I eventually want to get to the point where I'm doing this Bible study like this, the updates, and also eventually get back to doing live radio again. I've been looking into a couple of apps that would allow me to do eclectic weekends again and be able to play music again and everything. I'm still going to keep with the eclectic music geek podcast, so that's never going away. But I still want to be able to go live as the spirit moves me, and be able to play music again and be able to do, there's something about the live experience um, that for me um, seems to do a lot when it comes to bringing us all together, not just as, as Black people, but also as people within the body of Christ. There's something about being able to go live that really, really moves me. So let me see here. I'm trying to confirm a date that I have set for an event that I want to do a podcast on. Okay. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So I'll have to look that up again. So let me get with my calendar. Um, mm, 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 mm. So some updates. Let me see here. So for the updates, let me go ahead and be in keeping with my theme, which was 31 days of July 1966. Oh, mm, 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 mm. And my phone is wanting to do weird things. But yeah, from now on, I will be doing, and at least time for me to be able to at least time for me to be able to add another day to my schedule as far as podcasting. And I'm going to start putting the podcast on my WordPress blogs. Okay, July 22nd. We're going to say 31st because tomorrow is the 31st. Okay. Um, Let me go in Wikipedia here and see what they're saying about what was going on. So, July 1966. Okay, so July 22nd, 1966. Yeah, their chronology is starting to drive me nuts. Let me get back on the page that I was on. So, let me see here. So, for those of you who don't know, um, for those of you who don't know, from from the 22nd on through the rest of the month in August, July 23rd is it starts the astrological sign of Leo for those who are into astronomy. Okay, so if you're into that, you know that from the 22nd or 23rd on, we crossed over into the astrological sign of Leo. And let me see, it still has us as Cancer on here. So we had the same um, prime minister, which was Harold Wilson, same president, Lyndon B. Johnson, same pope, St. Paul the Sixth. Famous people born on the 22nd include Tim Brown, American football player, Daniel Nowak. Um, we were all still listening to the Hanky Panky and Sunday Afternoon by the Kinks. So let me see. Holiday Swaziland, the birthday of former King Zobuza II. Um, Pi Approximation Day, Saint Bandril Wandry Gilius, Saint Neve. We also mentioned Tim Brown. We mentioned Daniel Nowak, Anna Wood, Anja Barakis, Sarah Waters, and Sean Cohen. So Anja Barakis was a actress, Sarah Waters, novelist, and Sean Cohen was a South African professional wrestler, was or is. So, same movies as we started with at the beginning of the month. So not a whole lot changes. Er, my phone has been giving me. This is what happens when you have too many apps. Because my phone does not want to cooperate with me today. Okay. Who wants to kill Jesse? Torn curtain. So we have a little bit of new information. What is going on the 23rd? Okay. So holidays, Papua New Guinea, Remembrance Day. In Egypt is Revolution Day. Saint Laboris in Catholic Church, feast of at least two saints. Events, Cavern Club in Liverpool reopens. John Pennell, Pope vaults record. Kenna Geese, whatever. Troops in Stanleyville, Congo, revolt for several weeks in support of the exiled minister Maurice Chombe. Famous birthdays: Stephanie Hennon, Stephanie Hennon, Michael Williams, NBA guard, Aaron Cosby, noted, Bill, daughter of Bill Cosby, Samantha Beckinsale, um, Edward Montgomery Cliff passed away. Donald Novis, a singer, you know, Pajama Gang. Douglas Montgomery, a famous actor, and Montgomery Cliff. So movies that were, so we still one of our spies is missing, is still going strong, as well as Wild Angels. How to Steal a Million, Who Wants to Kill Jesse, Torn Curtain. I thought they had mentioned another book up in here. mm Okay, the music charts. We're still listening to Tommy James and the Shandels. Wild Thing by the Trogs is number two. This is in the USA. Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. Crispian and the Pharaohs, Little Red Riding Hood, The Pied Piper, Dusty Springfield, You Don't Have to Say You Love Me. That was the top five songs in the US. In the UK, it was The Kinks, Sunday Afternoon. Get Away by Georgia Flame and the Blue Flames. Paperback Writer by the Beatles. River Deep Mountain High by Argentina. Um, Nobody Needs Your Love by Gene Pitney. And in R&B, Let's Go Get Stoned by Ray Charles. Ain't Too Proud to Beg by the Temptations. Hold On I'll Come and Sam and Dave. Neighbor Neighbor by Jimmy Hughes. And Barefootin' by Robert Parker. Yeah, Robert Parker. So let me see here. Mm-mm. On the cover of Life magazine, there was a newborn baby. On Time, Charles Tillinghast Jr. made the cover, and Sports Illustrated, they don't say. So the best-selling books during that time: Tinkerbell by Robert Manry and The Love by Irving Stone. Oh, and Valley of the Dolls, Jacqueline Suzanne. If you ever have a chance to read Valley of the Dolls, I highly recommend it. It is a very good book. I would venture to say that the book is even better than the movie, which most people who are into books will tell you. Like, if you read, see the movie first, and then no, yeah, see the movie first, and then read the book. Because 9 times out of 10, if you read the book first and then see the movie, you're going to be really disappointed because movies take dramatic license and they put stuff in there that might not be in the book, or there might be stuff that you're like, well, what happened? What happened to so and so? That wasn't in the book. Well, yeah, they took it out because they only have about a couple of hours, and the book is like Lord knows how many chapters. So, but I highly recommend that you read this book. It's a really good. Jacqueline Suzanne is a very good author, especially for the time period. She had a book out called The Love Machine. She also wrote. She wrote The Love Machine. She also wrote, I think it was Once Is Not Enough, and I think she might have wrote one called "The World Is Full of Married Men." She was, if you remember, Joan Collins' sister Jackie Collins, so she was kind of the Jackie Collins of the '60s. So she wrote a lot of a lot of her books were about the rich and famous, and loosely based on different people in real life that she knew that had all these issues that she was writing about. So she was really good. Human Sexual Response by Masters and Johnson. I plan on getting that because I just want to see what's in it. um, I've been disturbed lately by a lot of very, very, very sickening teachings that are going on in a lot of churches here lately, and it's very unhealthy sexually. Games People Play by Eric Burney. Okay. So frequently asked questions. What day of the week? It was on a Saturday. On the okay, so the 23rd is the start of the season of Leo, and let me see. So these are probably questions that I probably should have been reading all along. But to go ahead and catch up, um, I'm going to read today and tomorrow, since these are the last 2 days of the month. So, what was going on the 30th? So famous. So let me see here. Famous holidays: Vanna Independence Day, their Independence Day. Saint Julita, a martyr. Saint Senin. Um, Roman Catholicism, the feast of at least three saints. Saint Abin. Events that happened: Kathy Whitworth wins the LPGA Superfest Ladies Golf Open. U.S. airplanes bomb the military, the military, the mili- demili- to demilitarized zone in Vietnam. Sniper Charles Whitman kills 13 people and wounds 31 atop the University of Texas at Austin Mann building, after earlier killing his wife and mother. A military coup occurs in Nigeria, and General Yakubu Gowan takes over. Famous birthdays: Carrie Fox, a New Zealand actress and screenwriter. Craig Gannon, English guitarist and songwriter. White Town, okay. Alan Langer, Australian rugby player. And Martina McBride was born today. Happy birthday, Martina. And famous death was Edward G. Craig. Famous movie. Now we finally get into some different movies. So famous movies that were out at this time were Tarzan, Valley of the Gold, um, Kaleidoscope. Tarzan was directed by Robert Day, and Kaleidoscope was directed by Jack Smite. Still, one of our spies is missing by E. Daryl Hollenbeck is still hanging in there. The Wild Angels by Roger Corman still hanging in there. How to Steal a Million by William Wyler still in there. Let me see here. On the music charts, we're still listening to the Trogs. They're hanging in there with Wild Thing. Tommy James and the Shandels slipped to number 2 with Hanky Panky. Little Red Riding Hood by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs is hanging in there at number 3. The Pied Piper by Crispin St. Peter's is hanging in at number 4, and the Mamas and the Papas, I Saw Her Again, makes it to number 5. In the UK, we're listening to the Trogs with A Girl Like You. Out of Time by Chris Farlow. Okay. Chris Montez, The More I See You. Los Brovos, Black is Black. And the Beach Boys, God Only Knows. In the R&B charts, the Temptations, Ain't Too Proud to Beg is number 1. So it slipped up. Ray Charles, Let's Get Stoned, falls a notch. Sam and Dave, Hold On, I'm Coming is still at number 3, I believe. Jimmy Hughes, Neighbor Neighbor, and Robert Parr still at number 5 with Barefootin'. Okay. Okay. Nurse Murderer Fingerprints makes the cover of Life magazine. Lauren Bacall is on the um, cover of Time. And I don't know why they list Sports Illustrated because they don't even say who's on the cover. So Unsafe at Any Speed, out of the books that are out, Unsafe at Any Speed by Ralph Nader. If many of you remember, Ralph Nader is a economist. He used to write a lot of articles. Unsafe at Any Speed. Let me see. Is the full story of why cars kill and and why the auto manufacturers have held. So this was his book about different cars that he considered to be unsafe. He had a presidential bid, I think, for the Green Party. Might have at one point. So he put his bid in. It was a while back, and I think he was running against former Vice President um, Al Gore. So he was running around the time that Al Gore was running. Human Sexual Response is still hanging in there. Valley of the Dolls and Games That People Play are both still hanging in there. The Last Battle by Cornelius Ryan is on the book charts. Let me see here. Okay. And then we're going to go into tomorrow, which is the last day of the month. So holidays for tomorrow was St. John Columbini, Republican of the Congo, upswing of the revolution. In Roman Catholicism, this is the feast of at least 3 saints. Saint Ignatius of Loyola, founder of the Jesuits. Saint Conrad, son of Leo and Kurt. Saint Helen, no, listen, if I'm messing up, charge it to my head. Scoffed. Lahey, Hawaii, Hawaiian Flag Day. So events: Charles Whitman wounds 46, 46 and kills 5 at the University of Texas. Um, Alabamans burn products of the Beatles due to John Lennon's bigger than Jesus remark. You can go and Google that. Um, famous birthdays on tomorrow will be Dean Cain. He used to play, for many of you, he played Superman at one point. Marina B.A. Moet Ogilvy, daughter of English Princess Alexandra. Tillin John from Encino, he's a playmate. Um, Marina Ogilvy, British notable family. Kevin Martin, Colombian sports Canadian sportscaster and curler. Lisa Madigan, public servant. Sean Patrick Maloney, politician. Neri McCory, Italian actor, dubber, and imitator. Julie Forbes, golfer from Scotland, tour from Scotland. Tetsuya Ishihara, at Japanese animator and director. Famous deaths: Bud Powell, American jazz musician, jazz pianist, as a matter of fact, and Alex von Falkenhausen, a German general. Okay, hold on for just a second here. Okay, so let me see here. So Tarzan and the Valley of Gold is still hanging in there. Kaleidoscope still hanging in there. One of Our Spies is Missing still hanging in there. The Wild Angels, How to Steal a Million, but all of those are still hanging in there right around the time of July 31st. The top 5 songs in the U.S.: The Trogs with Wild Thing, Tommy James and the Shandels with Hanky Panky, Little Red Riding Hood by Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs, Pied Piper, Crispin St. Peter's, and I Saw Her Again, the Mamas and the Papas. Look like the Mamas and the Papas slipped a bit. In the UK, Girl Like You by the Trogs, Out of Time by Chris Barlow, The More I See You by Chris Montez, Black is Black by Los Brobos, the Beach Boys with God Only Knows, and then on the R&B chart, The Temptations, Still Ain't Too Proud to Beg, um, Let's Get Stoned by Ray Charles, Hold On I'm Coming by Sam and Dave, Neighbor Neighbor by Jimmy Hughes, and Robert Parker with Garrett. Okay. So there's the nurse murderer's footprints, fingerprints are still on life. Lauren Bacall is still on time, and they still don't say who's on the cover. So the top books. Looks like it's the same top books. Yeah, Unsafe at Any Speed, Human Sexual Response, Ballad of the Dolls, Games People Play, and The Last Battle. So that is the last day of the month. Next year, if I do this again, I will definitely try to be a little more steady on every month. So let me see here. Let me look at my calendar for the month of August. I know that there is a Okay. Okay. Let me just go ahead and search this one out. So there's an upcoming. Okay, so I wanted to get the I wanted to get the date right. So this coming August 3rd. For some reason, my screen does not want to show me anything. So on August 3rd, Versus TV will be presenting Dipset versus the Locks. Um, my son at Madison Square at Madison Square Garden. I know. I'm like, so we get to see. I get to see my brother in Christ. No, I get to. This is going to be interesting for those that are diehard. My son used to be a fan of the Diplomats back in the day. I don't know how into the locks he was. So this is going to be this is all. So this is going to be on August 3rd, which is coming up really really soon. So I got to hurry up and get my podcast up dedicated to the two groups. They both have a pretty good history. You know, for those that are diehard, um, they're kind of rough around the edges. Okay. Um, I haven't come up with a theme for August yet. I will be discussing that probably next week. Or if I don't go live, I'm really liking podcasts or TV. This allows me to go live in about 5 different settings at one time. Um, at one particular time, and so I can talk to more than one person. It also allows me to share on the platforms that I'm not able to go live on. I have one platform in particular that I wish I could go live on with the rest of them, with the rest of these others, and I'm going to figure out how to do that. So tonight I want to discuss some more. So I want to discuss some more of Satan's lies to women. So, like I said in the past about this, when the devil wants to mess with women and wants to come for women, one of the things that he constantly comes for is your sexual past, more so than he does the men, to me anyway. So, one of the things that I remember, I follow Erica Campbell of Mary Mary on Instagram, and she made this comment: "You can't live your life like a whore," and then turn around and then want to, and I was like, you got that kind of wrong, don't you? Because that's what being born again is all about, the ability to change your life for the better anytime you want. Now, that's not to say that people won't remember who you used to be. And many times, whenever someone's bringing up your past, depending on what type of past you led, the devil will use people who remember things that you used to do and have them bringing it up. And it usually will come up at a very inopportune time. Um, I remember listening to Tom Joyner and comedian Arsenio Hall talked about being out with this young lady and how somebody from her past walked up to him and made a remark and said, "Yeah, we used to have a nickname for her, and I forget it was some real inappropriate nickname that had something to do with her sexual past." And so I right away reverted to who I used to be and said, if somebody walked up to me and said that mess, I would say, "Yeah, we had a nickname for you too. It's called Tiny." Okay. Yeah, I was never one of those women who allowed men to have the last word on me like that. So I was Miss Clapback Queen. You weren't gonna come at me with some mess. Plus, I was just the type of person like if you weren't a guy I dealt with in the past, like really, honey, do you really think that you're gonna be able to come to me and I'm just not I just think that it's so punkish for a man to come to you even if it's a man that you have been with. Like, who does that? Like, I'm sorry, but I just don't believe that gentlemen kiss and tell. And so when somebody is so willing, because if you were together, you both were wrong. Okay. For some fool to be coming to somebody bringing up your past, well, first of all, if it involved them, then they showing you what they really all about. They real immature. I remember in my younger times, whenever I would be in relation, I just never asked because I don't feel like unless it involved people who were underage, which or and none of mine does, or it involved something very serious like rape, or it is as long as all of the people were consensual, I'm not really worried about it. John the Baptist to the Pharisees one time. He called them a bunch of vipers and he said, "Show me ooh, too much pop. Show me works meet with repentance. In other words, show me that you're a different person now. I'm not pressed about back then. Mm-mm. Show me who you are now. Show the best apology if you've offended anybody is change behavior. Like if you're still doing what you used to do. I was under this pastor who almost bragged about how much he used to break women's hearts. And I'm like, but what has Jesus done in your life now? What kind of man are you now? Because if you're still doing that, even in the pulpit, like I'm not even trying to hear you. You heard me read the word last week about imitating those who imitate Christ. If you're not imitating Christ, I'm not imitating you. And coming to women and using their God is never going to allow anyone to use past sexual exploits of yours to drag you backwards. That ain't God. The word of God, we change from glory to glory. We're blessed to be a blessing. I started a job, last week. So I was in my second week of training and I took this test and I felt really good because I knew more on this on I retained more information and I thought and I was just like, man, we are blessed to be a blessing. We're supposed to help each other. Like when I say that we are in it together, that's exactly what I mean. Even with this pandemic thing, we got to remember that we're in it together. I saw a post where Montel Williams caught COVID even after getting vaccinated. And he made the point to say, um, he made the point of saying, um, it's as the doctor said, where it's almost like where it's almost like just really, really bad flu. So I'm saying, we keep having all these resurges because we have symptomatic people walking around here unvaccinated, carrying it. Y'all don't want, you got some people that don't want to social distance. I haven't been wearing a mask lately, but I also have proof that I've been vaccinated. So I've done my due diligence and went ahead and got them 2 shots. You can get them at Giant Eagle, where you can go and don't have to have an appointment. You can get them for free. I think CVS might still be doing them. Um, go get people are left and right. Anti-vaxxers are showing up on the news, left and right, talking about get the shot. And these same people are telling y'all, oh, it's this and oh, you got healthcare workers. I'm sorry, but if you were a nurse in any hospital that I ran, there's no way you could come to work and not have been vaccinated. I'm like, okay, this is for your health because these people are, you are exposed to not just COVID, but you're exposed to so many different things. Why would you not want to be inoculated against anything this dangerous? Because it doesn't play around. I went ahead and got my vaccination, like the healthcare system that I was through. I have, I have medical coverage through the state. I'm not ashamed to admit it, and it covers everything. If you are low income and you cannot afford health care, go to your state health department and fill out information, apply for your state Medicaid. Okay. Um, I apply for it because I have diabetes too. And it requires me to be on medication and see a doctor on a regular basis, as well as a nutritionist, although you wouldn't be able to tell by my size. And so I cannot afford to be without medication. I cannot afford to be out but be without medication. And I fall under one of the um one of the conditions that does not mix well with COVID. So, the first thing they did was, inform me, to go ahead and make an appointment to get my vaccine. So I went ahead and got it because diabetics not good. Diabetes and COVID, no, you don't want, those are too lethal. um, Certain conditions, and that's one of the conditions that getting COVID could be a really bad thing to mix with. So I hurried up and got my little buns down there and got the shot. Um, if you don't want to wear, and I personally believe, why not go ahead and get the vaccine so you don't have to? And they're getting to the point where they're ready to start having people who have been vaccinated go ahead and wear the masks again. The building that I work in, you couldn't even enter without a mask at first. My mouth gets very dry. So I have been really trying to stay on top of that because I cannot afford to get it. Um, so set, So back to this topic at hand. um, One of the things that I remember when I first started deciding to save sex for marriage, I was under this pastor, and I remember my godmother before me when she got saved. At the point that she got saved, she had been involved with it. She was, kind of a sugar baby for this married guy. So when her getting saved meant she couldn't abuse drugs no more, oh well, cool. But as soon as her getting saved meant he couldn't get no more nookie, then all of a sudden the church was crooked. Like he just kept finding all kinds of stuff to mess with her about her being saved. Well, the funny thing is, as soon as I began to save sex for marriage, I had a pastor who started doing me. Her married guy was like her, like doing her. Every time you turn around, it was always something and always tripping. And I'm like, first of all, your foot did never well nigh slip here because that was never going to happen. I didn't date married men when I wasn't saved. So, messagely about your sexual past is a favorite one, especially guys that you used to mess around with. They tend to make returns to you. Um, Warfare against black women. That's one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, all a lot, and a lot of the warfare against black women here lately seems to be steeped in a lot of unfair stereotyping about black women. So none of it is anything that's even based in the truth about us. We know the truth about ourselves as individuals. And there seems to be a lot of warfare against successful, educated black women. It's either trying to drag you down if you have any type of success at all, um, or if you are en route to a successful, or you have goals, like say you have ministry goals. Let's say you have ministry goals, career goals, or different things that you're aiming for. I can remember at one point when I first started studying for the ministry, it was myself and two other single mothers that I knew. And both of them, they had both been married twice, and I was unmarried. And so it seemed like we was both going through. Like one of them, the one lived next door to me, and she was going through stuff. And we, eventually, became regular prayer partners because, we were all suffering hits in our finances, like all kinds of hits in our finances. I wound up getting bonuses on my job. It's like we would have miracles that would happen, and whenever I got anything, I'm like, I tried to sew into both of them because I'm like, they didn't know each other personally or anything like that, but it was just like it seemed like it was a lot of women who shared the situation that I was going through, that we were just getting massively hit. And each of them had the same type of demographic that I had. They had children, they were single, they were raising their kids, they each had one boy and one girl, one male and one female child, and it seemed like we were just all going through it. We were, between our lights being out, gas being off, just all kind of crazy. And it seemed like we were having to join hands and pray a lot, and we were having to give each other words of encouragement and minister to each other and everything. And I'm gonna talk about the whole. There seems to also be a lot of warfare against spending others. Now, I kind of feel this way when it comes to men and how they feel about women who are what they call babied up or got kids. Um, if you decide to date somebody that has children, then you have to make up your mind that you are, even if the child's, let's say she's co-parenting successfully or he's co-parenting successfully, you have to make up your mind that you are just going to be a bonus mom or bonus dad, because there's no way you can be in someone's life and not sooner or later have to think about their children. Okay? Even if the other parent is involved and they're not absent, you are going to have to be a positive role model in that child's life. And it bothers me the amount of men who want to be negative and still be in a woman's life anyway. And so I had to finally, when it came to my kids, like once I had my daughter, I just said, bump it. And I stopped having sex altogether. I haven't been with a man. My youngest is 26, and I haven't been with a man since she's walked this earth. Not fucking with it. If they ain't trying to marry me, if they ain't trying to be a Christ-like figurehead in my life, I'm not trying to hear about it. And much of the warfare that I have gotten has come from within the church. And I'll tell you now. Would you say, well, Anjanette, what happened to the what deep revelation? I'm gonna get to that, but and Black women in ministry are really going through from what I'm seeing. But like I said, I I plan on doing a podcast. One thing about my series, because I had a series called Hoify on my WordPress blog, and I still talk about it. So the term hoified is a form of slut shaming where a person is made out to be a hoe for things that don't make you a hoe. So, like, you could not be having sex at all. I did one on, and as a matter of fact, Erica Campbell wound up being one of the pictures that I showed along with my own daughter. I did one about hoifying women because of their dimensions, something that can't be helped, something that is genetic, that you cannot help how you're built, you can't help how you're stacked, and the funny thing is the amount of women who will be upset with a woman for how she's built. Never mind, you cannot help how you are built. I also talked about hoifying women for dating interracially, hoifying women for being outgoing and liking to go places. Like, I I I have always considered myself to be a little bit introverted. I always think the hair industry, cosmetology industry, for bringing me out of my shell, as it were, because doing hair on a regular basis made me more, and working with customers made me more outgoing. It brought me out, but I also know that at the end of the day, I kind of have to get by myself and regroup, because I've taken on everybody else all day. When you are spent after a while, when you are talking to everybody else and you're animated and you're keeping, your client satisfied and you're on all day. At the end of the day, I would still be, as outgoing, but then after a while, I'd be ready to get in my car, and I'm like, as soon and let's say I had Bible study that night, I would just want to be by myself in the sense. I would get there early enough that I could just sit on a pew and pray and give all of whatever I've been through that day over to God. And the church that I was at was a bit on the toxic side. So I would, say hello to people and go right back up to praying. And you'd be surprised at the number of people who think of you as being unfriendly. And it's not that you're unfriendly. You're trying to be cool, but at some point I need some me time, and need to get by myself so that I can recharge and everything. And so it's really funny. Um, when you have people, like I said, I've always credited hair for being that thing, that vehicle that brought me out of that shell and allowed me to be more outgoing. Doing Christian evangelism brought me out and made me more outgoing. It's like, with a person who's a tiny bit more introverted, it's like once you break that one little shell that allows you to get out and you get the courage and know that you're able to do something, then you want to really keep doing it. But like I said, so when you hear about me like wanting to travel and blog about my travels and do, and I'm discovering that I'm a bit of a history buff, like music history, different things that I'm discovering. I'm loving to look at and research the background and everything that I'm studying and everything. So when we talk about the um me liking to go to concerts and blog about that. So when I hear people shame women for liking to go places and liking to travel and then hoifying women for that, and none of that makes you a hoe. It just means you like to get out and like to make memories. You like to make memories. You like to be able to, go see artifacts, whatever it is, and everything. And I believe that if you, I won't say believe hard enough, but I believe if you're called to it, God will make a way for you to be able to do all of that and everything. So the next part of hoifying I'm gonna go into is men who hoify women for being single moms. I was on Reddit, and this little guy, this little creepy white guy, um, she's not the one. This little creepy white guy got on there and began to say, "Well, all single mothers are good for is sloppy sex." And so I was just like, Lord, get a hold of me before I get a hold of this young man, because I want to choke him right about now. And so when they talk about single mothers, who are they really talking about? So I'm going to go ahead and do a podcast about that whole thing. And God isn't judging you, by the way. So if every single one of your kids have mismatched baby daddies, guess what? God is not disqualifying you from marriage. There has been a Christian cult here lately that has been trying to put that lie out there on women. Once you accept Christ, you are forgiven. God is not allowing any man to misuse you. So be careful who you listen to. Um, I know this. So this morning's revelation, I was in the parking lot at work, and I was thinking about the tons of black men who anymore seem like they are so anti-black women. I mean, black women are getting attacked fiercely. You know, the whole thing with Tia Tequila, I can safely say I really believe that was of the devil. I don't believe that was God. I don't believe that was God using her to say that kind of stuff to black women, because Asian women suffer from alopecia too. I'm a hair I'm a I am a hair expert, and I have looked at all of that. I did it for 20 years. And so I have seen women with all kind of different scalp conditions. And so telling black women that you're bald because of whatever, like, God ain't tell her that, because God knows your separate situation, number one. And number two, black women got plenty of hair. We got plenty of hair. And so when people are saying that they're thinking about the Eurocentric standard of beauty, which is long and straight. Never mind that there are white women with curly hair too. I know because I've done their hair. So for someone to come, and it just seems like there's a lot of it, like this guy that's been going around the internet right now called Kevin Samuels. So Kevin Samuels, I may talk about him in a plot podcast because I've been trying to stay away from that. Because I just really wish that black women would, when you see, to me, he's a cancer. When you see someone like that, and the bad thing is, he seems to be the dusty black guy's best friend. Okay, if a person don't want to live right and don't want to do right by women and don't want to act right by women, then he's their man. And the bad thing is what people don't realize. A lot of it is emotional abuse. I saw this one clip where his son, I guess it is, made this statement about black women and was saying, well, um, where else you gonna go? You don't have no choice but to submit to us. Now, I've had boyfriends that were toxic in the past, and whenever I ran across a toxic guy, they usually have that sentiment. You don't have no choice but to put up with my negative behavior because who else will have you? Those are very dangerous words, and if someone is saying those words to you, I want you to know that you don't have to put up with that. You never have to put up with abuse. The word of God says that love does no harm to a neighbor. If you are being harmed spiritually, if you are being harmed physically, if you are being harmed psychologically, if you're being harmed emotionally, if you're being harmed sexually, that is not love. Love does not put you in a position to be harmed ever. And I don't care if the person that's doing these things to you is a spiritual leader. I've been seeing like a lot of stuff in my YouTube. I've just become very addicted to YouTube anymore since I have had my Roku TV and been able to watch YouTube. And the documentaries, YouTube now has movies. And I'm here to tell you, oh, you can see old movies, but I'm talking about YouTube. You can rent new movies. Um, Let me see. Let me look. I can see my little live showing on here. Um, they have free movies, but let me see here. They also have movies that you can rent. So, a movie that was, oh, I know what it is. A movie Cruella is on YouTube now. The movie Cruella is on. Straight Outta Compton is on. Let me see here. I'm trying to think of a movie that we just, and they're doing YouTube originals. I'm like, I'm gonna hop on one of these, but a movie, A Quiet Place, with what's his name from The Office and his wife Emily Blunt. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is on YouTube. So like YouTube is becoming White Boy Rick. Um, so YouTube is starting to throw it. Yeah, don't sleep on YouTube right now. They also have YouTube TV where you can pay and watch live TV and see a whole lot of stuff. So YouTube is expanding. But one thing that, if you are, let's say you're in for the night, Lord forgive me. Say you're in for the night and you just want to watch a good old fashioned movie. Um, YouTube, you can either get an older movie that is you can either get an older movie and see it for free. You'll just have to put up with all of the ads, or you can Crazy Rich Asians is on here too. But you can buy or rent movies on YouTube now. And so, like I said, I watched A Quiet Place, the first one before going to see number two with my mother, and both were really good. Both were very suspenseful. Um, you can see where Harry went. I just don't want to buy nothing and it's on a device because, um, they have your stuff even though you have the account and can watch it. But like some of the stuff that they want to make you buy, I'm like, I don't know if I want to see this. I don't know if I want to watch this all the time like that. So we will see. But yeah, like they're getting first run. When I say that they are getting movies, I don't mean old movies, although there are a couple of channels that you can see older movies on. I know what I was going to say. So this morning my mind opened up and got popped some knowledge in me. I was thinking about the amount of black men who keep making babies in interracial relationships. And I remember looking at Kimberly Foster, and she talked about, the concern about the Kardashian grandbabies. And I can remember watching keeping up with the Kardashians when it first came on. And I said about Chris Jenner, I was like, she is not gonna have any white grandbabies. All her grandbabies are going to be by men of color at the rate that her daughters and even her son was going, because even her son, Rob, he has a baby with Black China. So the only grandchildren that she has that would be considered Caucasian are the ones through Scott Disick. And I said, and the bad thing is, my problem with black men who do that is you are raising a black child, and how she views herself as a woman of color is going to depend a lot on what you and her mother teach her about herself as a woman of color. And if you are not teaching her how to love herself, her whole self, and all of who she is, you are doing her a disservice by bringing her into the world and making her with a woman who doesn't know how to teach her. Now, I could say I almost kind of feel like those kids are going to be okay. And the bad thing is I really believe their mothers are probably going to do a better job of teaching them to love themselves biracial than what their fathers are going to do at teaching them to love themselves, especially the girls. I really do. I honestly do believe that in the Kardashian clan, I think that the women, even though I've heard, we've heard them called culture vultures and appropriators and different stuff like that. I almost feel like those kids probably have a better chance of learning and being proud of themselves for who they are with the moms. I give the moms a little more dap than I even give the dads, because some of from what I'm hearing about some of the fathers of some of them, except for Rob, who happens to be male, are they teaching them to love themselves black? Are they teaching them to love all of who they are? Like I said, I had to recount to somebody, I am a black woman. I'm proud of being a black woman. I love myself black, and I love other. I don't always like everything that everybody my color does, but I love other black people. I love our history. We have been through a lot. Okay. And so it pains me to think that there are, as a man, you are going to be the first male somebody that leaves an imprint on your daughter's heart about who she is as a woman in this world. And if you are not teaching her to love herself as a young woman of color, you are doing her a disservice. You really are. If you are a white woman and you're listening to me and you are raising a child with a man of color, you do that child a disservice by not learning about who that child is as far as their racial background. You really do. One of my favorite singers, Lenny Kravitz. Um, one of interview I saw with him. He stays, I think, in the Bahamas right now. I like the fact that not only does he know who all of he is as far as being biracial, but he also knows the kind of black he is. He knows that he has, he knows his roots are in the Bahamas. So I always think that it's so neat when when a person who has a black heritage not only knows that they are, knows that they are black. His mother is Roxy Roper from the Jeffersons, Helen Willis, but they also know the kind of black that they are. I'm half tempted to go and get one of them little DNA tests and find out, okay, well, what all is swimming around in my, heritage or whatever, because I think it's interesting when people I've been watching, they've been showing the Vox channel, VOX, has been showing different um different, like Denmark and Italy, where some Black Lives Matter protests have taken place, and how the people, like, really, they know where they're from. Like, they know that they're black, but they also know that they're not just black, that they are, from Kenya, they know, or from Africa or Nigerian. Like, they know what kind of black they are. So there's a whole culture behind my color. I'm not a chocolate covered white person. I am a black person. There is a whole lot of other, there's a whole lot of cultures that came into making me who I am. And so, not teaching them to love themselves, all of who they are, you are perpetuating that same nonsense. And like I said, you are going to affect what kind of romantic relationships they have when they get older. If you are a man that is hung up on skin color, or walking, talking paper bag test of a man, I I I feel for any daughters that you have, because you are bringing more women into the world, more women of color. It's bad enough that women have body image issues as it is. But then when you go and add ethnicity to the oppression that we're going through because of not feeling thin enough, not feeling light enough, not feeling this or that enough, it leads to women getting into bad relationships and putting up with a whole lot of negativity that they would not put up with if they felt better about themselves. One of the number one things that keeps women in terrible relationships is low self esteem and low body image. Not feeling good about who you are. And then some of y'all had the nerve to be Christians and tear women up. So that was my, open up my brain and pour in moment. Was I'm like, I'm like, actually, I think that, as long as you can reach the females in the Kardashian family, and because they're very compassionate with their kids from what I could see. If you reach the females in in the Kardashian family, and teach them, to teach their kids who they are, not just the white side. You're not a chocolate covered white child. You're a black child. You're a black child. You're a half black child. You have to be proud of who you are, the color that you are. And if they're not doing that, you're doing them a disservice, because then they wind up not feeling good about being black. And there's nothing wrong with being black. There's nothing wrong with being black. It's not your color. It's somebody else's perception of your color. It's somebody else's perception of your racial background. I've been watching this one sister on YouTube called Intellectual Media. I started following her on um so shout out to her. And Paris Milan. There's been a, they talk they and they're really very intellectual. I like hers because I looked at her channel. She has different, subcategories and everything. So a lot of people that I am connecting to is because iron sharpens iron, and she's on Instagram, and she's very smart. She talks about, gives a very concise history of some of the stuff that we see. I like when someone is able to talk about current events or different, past events, and give the black side of some of what we, experience. I tell you what, if I could do anything, I would love to see Donnie Simpson back with BET and running things if necessary. I kind of, even though they're no longer, black owned, which is another topic for another time. The thing of it is I'm like, well, if you're going to keep it black entertainment television, it would be lovely to have somebody that was there back in the day when they were in their heyday and they had the news. Like I liked Ed Gordon doing the news. This is the stuff that I miss. I miss, it's part of me missed 106. I missed, when they had the different programs that wasn't just music videos. It was all kind of other stuff going on. Wasn't just TV shows, even though I'm liking the new program. They did the news, they had talk shows and people being interviewed. It was a place for us. And so, I'm looking forward to the people who are branching out and starting all of these new networks and starting their own channels and everything, starting to do all of that. So, anyway, but like I said, I think I'm gonna, I know I'm gonna get on the podcast for Dipset and Locks, but I also am gonna get on this podcast for Hoify. The Hoify series is not gonna go anywhere, and it's not gonna go anywhere because I really think as women we need to think about how who we let judge us. Okay, because every man ain't qualified. To me, no man is qualified to judge you. And they're not qualified to judge you because at the same time that they're judging you, you have to wonder about their motives for judging you. Why do they have all this negative stuff to say about you? I just walked out, I just left out of a church where someone was trying to draw me into a really, really terrible situation, one that was borderline human trafficking. Okay, you have to wonder when somebody has always got negative stuff to say about you, why? Like, I don't follow this Kevin Samuels guy at all. Like, as soon as I hear a black man say negative stuff about his own women, I ain't following you. I ain't got no holla. I ain't got no holla at all. we, it's plenty of dudes in my past that have wound up on the platonic pile because I didn't feel like they had no holla for black women, and basically they were almost worse than white men. You want us long enough to sleep with us, but you don't really want a meaningful relationship with us. Okay, now I'm not saying that all white men are like that, but um, I am really leery of the pressure and I'm going to talk about that too. So, um, I'm gonna, I will probably go live over the weekend with what I decide that August theme is going to be for me for Adam's Rib Media Ministry. What August theme is going to be. Because I really like being able to set a theme for my network, for my ministry, so that I can put everything around that with all of my other channel, all of my other blogs and everything. So anyway, this is my inaugural Friday night Bible study and update. I'm not moving it no more. It's going to stay this way. You guys have a good weekend. Be blessed. Love on one another. You are blessed to be a blessing. And remember that we are all in this together. And I want you to know that you have a right to change your life for the better anytime you get good and ready. And no one has a right to drag you back. So you guys be blessed. I love you all. Stay black.